the one that is now ascendant again in Europe post-Macron, post these other elections.
So let me also now take a shift now to other politics here. You know, at home, CNN confirming that President Trump's sons held 2 meetings at the Republican National Committee offices just last week. So does this raise any ethics concerns given that the sons are managing President Trump's business interests, Alice?
Well, clearly, one of the biggest rules with regard to that is not to talk about the business interests while they're having these political conversations. I do think it's important for the RNC to have talks about what we're going to do about midterm elections and certainly 2020.
But with the sons who are charged with the Trump business.
That's my next point I was going to make. They may not be the exact right people that needs to be having these conversations. I think the most important thing is to keep that line of separation between the business interests and the politics. They clearly are trying to do that. We also know that the daughter-in-law is now involved in the political arm of all of this, but it's going to be very difficult.
Who apparently was also part of that meeting. So, Ron, can you have it both ways? Can they do that?
Well,
and not,
look, I mean,
you know, and the lines not be blurred.
Yeah, no, I think this has been there have been issues there, and there are issues all the way through. I mean, this is just you know, we have seen. I remember George W. Bush did as the son of a president did have interactions with the RNC as kind of a defender of the father. So that's not. I don't think that's unprecedented. But what is unprecedented is these kind of mingling of how often, for example, the president is at Trump properties and all of these questions about whether they are truly separating. Can I just pivot slightly to say about the substance of this meeting? I mean, we've now had three special elections, real quick, in the House, and they have given us some signals about what the political environment we are. We've seen the Republicans each time underperform where they did in 2016 in these special elections where the party was. But on the other hand, we saw them in Montana underperform less than they have elsewhere, and that says to me that you've got a situation in which, yes, the president's approval rating is quite low, one which would kind of put those warning lights, to use James Clapper's phrase, on the dashboard for Republicans in 2018. But he still has a lot of strength in his core in those blue-collar and non-urban areas, and that means, I think, if Democrats are in fact going to have a chance at winning back the House, the road back is going to look more like it does through this Georgia election than it does through places like Montana, where the president still seems pretty strong.
That Georgia election, June 20th, potentially, pivotal. And Alice, you want to button this up?
Yeah, certainly. I think to Ron's point, in some areas the president is still doing very strong. In the CD6 race there in Georgia, Karen Handel leading on the Republican side, the Republican candidate here, she won. She actually distanced herself from Trump more than any of the other candidates in the race, and she said she will be a check and balance to President Trump. And I think from a Republican standpoint moving forward, I think it's important to connect with the base, reignite the base, but also reaffirm constituents that you will be a check and balance to this administration.
Yeah, and this seat is formerly Tom Price's, who's Health and Human Services Secretary. And so it's interesting because very red state, but this is a pretty contentious race so far,
and
very close.
Those white-collar affluent suburbs look like the biggest point of vulnerability. That's where Trump is most conspicuously underperforming what you usually see from a Republican president. So places like Georgia 6 around the country, the suburbs of Philadelphia, suburbs of even Los Angeles, are going to be, I think, critical ground zero for 2018.
All right, between Karen Handel and John Ossoff, we'll be watching. All right, Ron Brownstein, Alice Stewart, thanks so much. Appreciate it, and we will be right back.